Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Heine, a member of the Nonpartisan League of Women Voters of Lexington, and I will serve as the moderator today for this forum for Republican candidates for the Fayette County Judge Executive. This forum will be available on our website at lwvlexington.com. The candidates for the Republican ticket on Judge Executive include Mr. Daniel Luke Morgan, Mr. Thomas J. Hern, and Mr. Jon Larson. We are following the League of Women Voters policies and procedures for this forum. In order to give the candidates a fair chance to be heard, we have randomly selected them using random.org, the order for opening remarks and questions, and a second time for the order of closing remarks. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to introduce themselves and 60 seconds to respond to questions. Questions have been created by the sponsors, and in some cases, we have been able to get questions from the public. Finally, we'll give each candidate 60 seconds for closing remarks. We'll use the second drawing for the order of closing comments. And we'll begin with opening comments, and the candidates will go in order of the first draw. Mr. Jon Larson is first. Your comments, and you have 60 seconds, Mr. Larson.
Okay, thank you, ladies, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. I believe that I have the experience. I've done this job for all or part of it for 11 years. I may be the only Republican who can win in Fayette County. I won over a 26-year Democratic candidate office holder. I'm the only one who's alive that has won a contested countywide election. 48 years of practicing law, I'm very proud of. I was the first public defender in this community, full-time public defender. I have an MBA. I am a veteran. I helped her. It's my baby to set up the Veterans Treatment Court. I was on the Human Rights Commission when the Fairness Ordinance was passed. I was in the chair of the Environmental Commission. I was fortunate enough to catch people putting a landfill into McConnell Springs. So I'm invested in this community. I believe that my experience matters in this race for a job I really love, Fayette County Judge Executive. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morgan, your opening comments.
Thank you. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting together this event. My name is Daniel Luke Morgan. You can call me Luke, please. I'm running for Fayette County Judge Executive to help Lexington build connections with other local, state, and federal agencies. The primary goal of government is to protect its citizens, and I can help do this by drawing on the knowledge I have gained as a lawyer with over 30 years of experience. I started my career as a felony prosecutor in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office with Ray Larson, the Fayette Commonwealth Attorney, and I'm married to the current Fayette Commonwealth Attorney, Luanna Redcorn. After being a prosecutor at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and the Kentucky Attorney General's Office, I worked as a general counsel under the Fletcher administration, General Counsel of the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet. Since 2006, I've been in private practice at McBrayer Law Firm, but I've continued to do a lot of work with state government. I'm proud of the work that I've
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Mr. Hern, your opening remarks, please.
Well, the first thing is I want to point out you don't have to be an attorney or a judge to be a county judge executive. Most county judge executives are basically business people or have budgets and have large things. Because the urban county setup in Lexington, the county judge executive role is much different than what it is in other counties. But as a concerned citizen, and that's what I am, I'm a concerned citizen. I'm worried about what's going on in the city of Lexington. I'm worried about the crime rate. I'm worried about where the city is going and how we're spending our money. And I think it's important that someone who has a business background, understands budgets, understands financial statements, and is able to understand what the people are all about is someone that should be running this job. Our present county judge executive basically is collecting a check. I see this job as a better job. I see somewhere where I can make a difference in the city, and that's my goal. Again, it's we the people.
All right, thank you so much. The first question will go to Mr. Morgan. And that is, what is the biggest challenge facing the county judge executive in Fayette County? And what would you do to address it?
I think the biggest challenge is making sure that the community sees this office as being relevant. We have endured several years of county judge saying that we need to do away with this office. And that undermines the integrity and the authority of this office. County Judge Executive in Fayette County does a lot of important things. They help with deciding extraditions. County Judge Executive also helps to make appointments in the event vacancies occur. County Judge Executive also helps with the Metro Planning Organization in deciding roads and sidewalks. But there's a whole lot more that this office can do. I'm running on a platform of let's see what we can do with this office. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hern.
Well, the county judge executive, as I just discussed, has got a limited role in Lexington. But again, I think it's important that understanding what the people want and understanding what's to be done, we can use county judge executive can use the bully pulpit. And basically that person can basically talk about issues in the city that affect everyone and basically make the city a better place. If I'm elected to be county judge executive, I plan to be vocal. I plan to talk about it. As I just mentioned, our present county judge executive basically is collecting a check and not doing anything. And if that's what the job is, then it's a waste of money and it should be eliminated. But I think the bully pulpit could be used to basically talk about issues. You're going to be a county-wide elected person. And because of that, there's only maybe 8, 9, 10 people in this county that'll be county-wide elected. And I think it's important for the county judge executive to be in a position to be able to talk about the issues that are important to this city.
Right, and Mr. Larson, your response to that question.
Let me respond to both of these opponents who I like personally. I not only respect the job, I've done all of parts of it at no or almost no pay. I believe this is a public service. I work for my opponents. I believe that's what all public elected officials should do. Furthermore, I respect the voters in this community. Twice they voted for constitutional amendment. My unfortunately deceased associate had it almost done, or at least the first part of it done, in getting the legislature, which turned to Republican. In business, I have an MBA and a law degree, and I worked with all the officials in other counties. And by the way, I taught budgeting, or was a teaching fellow in budgeting in graduate business school.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hern, you'll take the next question first. And this kind of goes along with what you've all been saying. What should the public know about what the county judge executive does to serve our community?
Well, I think Luke basically discussed that we have limited powers and we have limited ability, but we need to be involved. We need to be in a position where we're involved, trying to make the right decisions and trying to move the city into forward position where the city is going to improve. Now, the idea that we need to make sure roads, sidewalks, those are all going to be important issues. We need to make sure that also the money we're spending on our parks is going to get the best bang for our buck when it comes to getting our children or adults into the park areas and using the facilities. Lastly, I think it's important that someone in the county judge executive basically get involved with other counties But more importantly, we need to make sure that businesses want to come to Lexington. And I'm willing to go out and help bring businesses in this area, because as a business person, I understand what businesses really need.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Larson.
Tom, I'm going to respond to your question or your response. This is a job that takes connection with other counties, and I've been doing it. I worked with the MPO for 11 years, which is transportation planning, the Kentucky Organization of Counties, the County Judge Executive Association, the Bluegrass Ed, the Bluegrass Tomorrow. I believe that unfortunately, our council and mayor have concentrated away from the regional things that have to be done. I know these regional officials, and they believe in, as I do, that we're working together. This job is, I'm so glad to have had this job. I was with the Robert Henry Hughes Scholarship, which is a historical scholarship. I went to schools to encourage African Americans to apply, which my predecessor had not done. I believe in this. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Morgan.
Yes, ma'am. This office can be used to help attract new businesses and new industries. I look at this office as being able to work with the other county officials, like the county clerk, county attorney, coroner, the sheriff, as well as LFUCG. I was very instrumental in helping to get the early election changed from being in Fayette County Public Schools and shutting down the schools in May of this year. I had a dialogue with the county attorney as well as the county clerk, and got the county clerk to realize that this needs to be held at Kroger Field and the schools remain open instead of shutting down in these elections. That's how I approached this county judge executive, to work collaboratively for the betterment of Lexington.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Larson, you'll take this question next, first on this time. How do you envision working with the mayor of Lexington?
Linda Gordon and her husband, General Charles Gordon. I have no problems working with them. I talk to them frequently. The importance of, I go over to City Hall for, in this job, to deal with several things. There is, in the job, I am the county. The county gets sued. The county attorney handles those lawsuits. I work with the sheriff. I work with the sheriff in authorizing deputies to go pick up our fugitives. I work with the county clerk's office and documents and putting on. The mayor, I make contact with her. I go to functions with her. It's a wonderful opportunity to celebrate activities with our mayor and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morgan.
I envision working with the mayor, period. I see the county judge executive role in collaboration with the mayor as well as the council. And the way to do that is to have the mayor and the council take the office of county judge executive serious. If someone goes to the mayor and the council and says, work with me, but I want to get rid of this office, the mayor's not going to take that person serious and has not taken that person or the office of county judge executive serious. However, when I go to the mayor and to the council and I say, here are bright ideas, here are new, fresh thoughts, here are people who want to come to Lexington to open new businesses, take me serious, the mayor and the council will take me serious. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hern.
Well, I think the most important thing, I've never met the mayor. I've seen her on television and I've listened to her on the radio. And I'd really be excited about meeting with her because I'd like to know what vision she has for the city. Where does she want to take the city? I want to be with her to help her any way I possibly can to reach the goals that she wants to reach. If I believe it's the best for the city of Lexington. Now, if it's not, I plan to say to the mayor, look, we need to reconsider some of these situations. I mean, back to possibly defunding the police that was talked about, maybe 5, 6, 7 months ago. That would have been a terrible idea for this city. And across the country, you see things, what's going on when cities that did do that have huge crime problems. But again, I would want to work with the mayor. I want to work with city council. I want to be the voice of, again, we the people, that we're driving the car, and the city council and the mayor, I have to be right with them and help them.
All right, thank you. Mr. Morgan, you'll take this question first. Public participation in government is very important. How would you reach out to the public if you're elected to this office?
I will stay connected with the public through social media, as well as continuing to be engaged with members of the public. I will also, I take very serious the representative form of government that we have, and working with other representatives, in this case, council members, other county officials, the sheriff, county attorney. And that's the conduit through which I'm used to working with other officials. When I helped legalize hemp in Kentucky with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture in 2014, I did that under the direction of Jamie Comer, and we did that through collaboration with federal officials. And it's that type of engagement that I think helps connect with citizens of our community.
Thank you. And Mr. Larson.
Luke, thanks for bringing up the idea of him. I went down to council as the judge executive and testified against him on my alleged organization, the Marijuana Growers Association. I said that hemp would spoil our high THC product, and everyone was laughing. I'm of course in favor of that, but it gave me a little bit of chance to confront issues in front of the city council. But I had opportunities to make appointments to the property valuation, the tax appeals board, and to committees in the Bluegrass Ed. And of course, it has the scholarship. It has so much in the way of public service. And I love the job just because it has public service. And I thank you for this opportunity to say that.
Okay, Mr. Hern.
First thing I would do is basically, if I'm elected county judge executive, I would start by going to every homeowners association in Fayette County. I'd want to meet with every one of those homeowner associations. I want to find out what's on the ground, what's happening. After that, I would be happy and really enjoy meeting everybody from the council and having a talk about every district in the council. I know things, I'm in the 6th district here of the city council, and I'm sure things are much different in this area than maybe the 10th district over near Beaumont. So it's important that as a county judge executive, again, as an elected official in the county, that I meet with everybody in the county and find out what everybody's thinking, and trying to put together a plan that I could bring to council and bring to the mayor and say, hey, we need to look at some of these issues. And maybe it's something they've missed, which would be really important, that they'd understand what we need to be. Again, it's we the people. We need to put ourselves in a position where we drive the car and we get the council and the mayor to be able to follow us.
Okay, thank you. This time you will get this question first, Mr. Hern. What factors would you use in deciding how to distribute the county road funds?
Well, my understanding is that all the county roads are in the city, so it's all part of the urban county government. But I would see, the first thing I would do again would be sit down with all the council members, find out what everybody wants or what we're trying to do, what issues we have with traffic, and what issues we're trying to do to help improve traffic in the city. I mean, I live on the north side of town here, and New Circle Road has got a lot of stop signs on it and very heavily traveled. So I think it's important that we look at where we're going in the future. I mean, we've got to be 3, 4, 5 years in advance. But again, I would sit down with every council member, want to work with them, find out where we are. And then also, as I said earlier, I plan to go to every homeowners association and sit down and talk with them and find out what their issues are with traffic. I'm sure that they have a pretty good idea of exactly what's going on in the city.
All right, thank you. Mr. Larson?
I love working with the fiscal court. The 3 commissioners and myself have decided on county roads, but let's be serious about it. I don't think that that's an important job, and I'll have to tell you why. These 3 commissioners are paid a paltry $50 a year to come to these meetings, and they listen to recommendations from the city engineer, because every square inch of county roads is in the city of Lexington, and the city engineers are the ones who make the recommendations and do all the work. This is just a vestige of something that, was constitutional requirement, that the county judges do this in other counties. But in our county, it is not necessary. And there, realistically and logically, there should be a constitutional amendment to avoid this limited process. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Morgan?
Yes, ma'am. I think the question was, what factors would we use in deciding on these road funds? And
Yes.
To me, I would look at what the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the federal basis by which these road funds are distributed. The Metropolitan Planning Organization includes Fayette County and also Jessamine, Madison, and other surrounding counties. And we got to look at that as all across the board. Because so many people from surrounding counties come to Lexington to work, they come for entertainment, they come for many other reasons, and we need to put those factors into deciding what to do with these road funds, and we need to work with these surrounding counties. That's why I say, when we approach the Fayette County Judge Executive Office as a serious office, as something that matters, then our neighbors will take us serious too.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The next question goes to Mr. Larson first, and it relates to something that you have all talked about. With merged Lexington Fayette County government, what are your thoughts about the existence or the need for this office here in Fayette County? And this will give you an opportunity to make your case either way.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, but first, Luke, I've been on the MPO. It is not Madison County. It's a portion of Scott County that we have. And I've encouraged the MPO to add Madison and other counties to the MPO. But as far as constitutional amendment, it should be done. It's a long-term effort. And as I told you, the new Republican leadership, which controls everything, happened along about the time that my wonderful successor, John Roberts, came along, and he got the bill promised to be passed. Unfortunately, he died. I'm respecting the voters in this county who know and believe that constitutional amendment should be done. We do not need Lexington Fayette Urban County government and the county fiscal court, not two county governments. It should be done, and the voters want it. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes, ma'am. There's a lot of appeal. It sounds good to get rid of needless offices, and I'm all for that. I think it's important to keep in mind that the county judge executive in Lexington, the salary is $8,000 a year. this is not something that anyone is seeking this job to get rich on. I think we all are seeking this to help our community. But the fact of the matter is the Fayette County Judge Executive is an office of our Constitution of the entire state. So to get rid of this office, we have to change the Constitution of Kentucky. Now that can happen, and I'm for that because I'm for getting rid of waste, but the other counties in our state, the county judge executives, they have a lot of authority and they do not want to have their authority changed. So realistically, changing the Constitution just for Lexington is not going to happen.
Right? And Mr. Hern.
Well, everyone's kind of said the same thing, so I'm going to go on with that also. As long as the state has a constitution that has this job, like Luke just said, there's 120 counties in the city of in the state of Kentucky. There's 118 county judge executives that have quite a bit of power. They're not going to give that up. So as much as we want to get rid of this, and I'm against waste. $8,000 is $8,000 that can be spent somewhere else. And I'm all for that. And if the state legislature does vote to change the Constitution and take out the county judge executives in Lexington and in Louisville, I would be happy to be part of that process and be happy to turn the office back over to the state and say, we're done. But as long as it's going to be a constitutional office, and it's not going to get changed, someone's going to have to run it, and someone's going to have to be helping the city move forward.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Morgan, you go first. Several of you have touched on this, but I'd like you to go a little deeper into it. The question was, is there a role for the county judge executive in encouraging a closer working relationship with surrounding counties? And you have talked about that, but would you talk a little more in detail about exactly what kinds of issues that would lend to working with surrounding counties?
Well, one of the fundamental things, and it's an existing agency, is a metropolitan planning organization. This is something that we've talked a little bit about. It's the road fund that Lexington is a part of with surrounding counties. This is something that we need to work with our surrounding county judge executives and our neighbors in surrounding counties, because they use Lexington. We go to their counties. We need to look at this as a regional approach. We also need to keep in mind that if we can cooperate with a neighboring county to bring jobs and a new industry to that county, people in Lexington are going to be working in that new job and that new industry. That's a terrific opportunity. That gets done when others take the Fayette County Judge Executive serious, and they will take me serious.
Thank you. Mr. Hern.
Well, I think a perfect example of what we're talking about is what's happening in Georgetown. You've got the biggest Toyota plant in the United States there. The spinoff from all that is you have all these other industries that are coming in to provide parts, tires, et cetera, for that plant. Well, that's what we need to look at. County, and I agree with Luke, we need to look at it as a region, that there's going to be businesses that want to come into this area. A lot of businesses are going to be leaving China and coming back to the United States because of what's happening with China. We need to be aggressive to find those companies and say to them, why not Lexington? Why not this area? Because if we're not growing our tax base, we're going to be dying. We need to make sure that we're growing our tax base to make sure we have the money that we need for the roads, for all the other parks and all the other things we need. But if we're not going to go out and aggressively look for new opportunities, we're going to be left behind, and that's going to be a problem for the city.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Larson.
First of all, let me respond to the notion that other counties won't go along with it, that they've got their own local control. Not true. A good portion of the county judge executives that I've worked with and talked to believe just as I do that this was just a records keeping or cleaning up the slate. Should be done. They don't have any problem with it. Getting rid of a judge executive in Fayette County and Jefferson County, perhaps. They don't have any problem with it. Now, I'm going to talk about the region because I'm the most serious advocate for regional planning. Lots of boundary disputes that can occur. I've talked about the possibility of Jessamine County doing things to make it difficult for our malls and beautification area. It should be done, and I've been working on it, and I continue to work on it with Bluegrass Tomorrow and other organizations, the MPO, of course. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hern, this question for you first. This position calls for administrative oversight. What experience do you have in managing people and in budgeting?
Well, my first job was for 25 years. I ran 2 automobile dealerships with about 300 employees. So I have a vast experience of working with not only salespeople, but technicians and parts and service people. So I think I'm well qualified understanding what it takes to motivate and also how to work in collaboration with other people. Because again, no one gets it done by themselves. It's a team concept, and you have to work hard to make sure that all happens. We have to put our egos sometimes underneath the table and say, look, we're here to work together. We got to find the right way to do this. And again, I did that. I've taught at the university level for 10 years. So I understand how to communicate and how to be able to talk to people. And finally, I run a CPA group of 17 CPA firms across the United States that all have automotive practices. I do all their work for them. I handle all their budgets. I handle all their money. And finally, I'm the person that controls that entire operation.
Thank you. Mr. Larson.
Thank you, Tom. As I mentioned, budgeting is one of my specialties. I believe in it. That's how government does things. Limited money means you can't do some things. The administrative experience I have, mainly in this job, or at least most importantly in this job, with dealing with authorizing extraditions, appointing of officers to the tax appeals board. I get sued as part of the, I'm really a process agent, but it's a administrative job, and I love it because it's downtown. I have a law office that I use at no expense to the county, and I'm available to the sheriff, to all the other offices that need administrative work. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Morgan.
My experience in managing and leadership, I think, comes in really 4 different areas. One that I'm very blessed to be a part of is my church, Maxwell Street Presbyterian Church. I'm an elder there. I also serve on the personnel committee, meaning we work with the people, with the staff of the church. We have a good sized budget of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And working with that gives a lot of experience in leadership. I'm also an owner of a law firm in Lexington, McBrayer Law Firm. I'm an owner of this. We have a very large budget. We have 100 employees and across the state. I also served as general counsel for the Public and Safety Cabinet in Frankfurt, and I was in charge of about 25 lawyers across the state there. The last thing is I was a scoutmaster, so I know about working with others in a variety of areas. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Larson, you first on this question. One of you mentioned concern for public safety and crime. I think everyone in Fayette County is concerned about those issues. Is there anything the county judge executive could do to address crime and safety issues in the county? And Mr. Larson, you're first.
Okay, as a judge executive, no. Just as a person, I do it all the time. I'm the primary advocate for reducing violence and drugs in our community. As you may know, I was the initiator for the Fayette County Drug Veterans Treatment Court, and I'm still a mentor after 9+ years. I deal in those events. Our jails are incubators for problems. We send people to jail, and unfortunately, I talk to people in jail all the time. There are two things they learn out of jail: drug connections and drug dealing connections. I make suggestions for our courts. I send them to the judges. I believe in this issue. However, it is not an issue for the control of the Fayette County Judge Executive. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Public safety is an issue for the county judge executive. County judge executive has authority and has a voice in all things in Fayette County. One thing that I will take is a lesson learned from the Fayette County Sheriff. Kathy Witt, I think, has done a terrific job in providing support for the Lexington Police Department. One thing that the Sheriff's Office is doing downtown now and at night is providing a physical presence downtown. That's done at the request of the people who are downtown, the owners of restaurants, and this has helped to reduce crime downtown. This is a collaborative approach. It's the same style that I will take as county judge executive, and bringing together officials who can make a difference. There is a real voice. Let's see what this office can do. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hern.
Well, the first thing is we are basically 100 police officers short. And the last time we had a recruitment area for police officers, they got 10 people to come because they didn't advertise it. Now, John is right. The county judge executive has nothing to do with that. But the county judge executive is a countywide elected office. I have the bully pulpit. I plan to point things out and say, why aren't we doing things correctly? Why aren't we advertising? Why aren't we looking for people for this opportunity? I mean, again, defund the police was a big mistake for many communities. We can't follow the same road. We've got to be on a different path. And you're right. I have no power, but I do have the bully pulpit, and I'm willing to use the bully pulpit to point out things in the city that need to be done. Again, it's we the people. If you go to all the homeowners associations and talk with them, they'll tell you what's going on in the city. And my area here, there's people running at night that basically are pulling car doors all the time.
All right, thank you. And now we'll go to the final question, and Mr. Morgan, you will take it first. What makes you the best candidate for Fayette County Judge Executive?
My experience as a prosecutor. I was a prosecutor for 13 years, both in Lexington from 1990 to 1993 and from 93 to 2003 across the Commonwealth and the Special Prosecutions Division of the Attorney General's office, where I ended up being the director. I also have a law enforcement career as general counsel for the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet, and currently I represent police officers through the FOP. I have the ability to work with others. I think I'm very blessed to be, and I strive to be a peacemaker. I try to get people together, and I'm successful at it. I was successful at it in getting the early voting changed this spring in Lexington, and I'll be successful at getting people together for the betterment of Lexington as county judge executive. Thank you.
And Mr. Hern.
Well, I think the most important thing about the county judge executive role is basically for us to be able to communicate to the people, from the people to the government. My role, again, would be going to every homeowners association, talking with people. I want to be part of the solution. I want to make sure this city is moving in the right direction. And now, why am I able to do that? I've run businesses. I understand what it's like to have to run a business and have to write a check to basically pay your employees. And when things get tough, I've been in some situations where it's been hard to do business. but I understand what it takes, and I want to help them. And I want to help businesses. I want to help the government. I want to help the people. The most important thing we need to do is be able to get people that are employed, the people that are working, that our kids are basically off the streets, doing something, getting jobs, helping those type of situations. I understand what it takes, and I'm willing to make those commitments and work hard.
Thank you. And Mr. Larson.
I hate to bore the listeners to this audience with a repetition, but been 11 years experienced in this job, doing all or part of it. I'm tied into this community. I love it. This community has only had this office as headed by a Republican since merger, and I'm it. I can win because I work with Democrats. People know me as a person who is concerned for our community. We do the right things. Luke brought up something in religion. I'm not trying to push my religion, but I am a minister's kid. Sunday school teacher was. I try to do the right thing, and I'll work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, we really appreciate your response to the questions this afternoon. We'll now turn to closing remarks. On the second random.org draw, Mr. Hern will go first, Mr. Morgan second, and Mr. Larson last, and they will each have 60 seconds for their closing remarks. Mr. Hern.
Again, the county judge executive needs to be a constitutional job that needs to be filled by someone who wants to use it to improve the city. The present county judge executive is just collecting a check. Well, I don't plan to collect the check, but I plan to help try to move the city forward any way possible. I plan to meet with people. I'm willing to go out and find out what we, the people, want to have happen in our city. And I'm willing to communicate that back to the mayor and to the city council. And so I'm willing to do all those things. I'm not afraid to say what I think, and I'm not afraid to try to do the right thing. So if you're looking to vote, please look up my website. It's votetomhern.com. And I appreciate your support on the 17th of May.
Thank you. Mr. Morgan.
Thank you. The county judge executive in Lexington has three main jobs. One is to help the extradition of criminals into Lexington for prosecution from out of state. Another job is to help with the road fund policy making. And then the third main job of the county judge executive is to make appointments if needed. If a vacancy occurs to the county attorney, county clerk, the coroner, or the sheriff. You need to have someone in the county judge executive's office who knows all of those areas. I know all of those areas. I have worked throughout Fayette County as well as the Commonwealth of Kentucky in these areas. But the county judge executive can do a whole lot more. We need to approach this with fresh ideas. There is a $1 million scholarship fund that cries out for help and oversight by the county judge. I'll be that person to help oversee this. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your vote.
Thank you. And Mr. Larson, your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. I want to address vacancy appointments. This is something that is subject to abuse. We've had vacancies in the past filled by resignation in favor of family and friends. And I'm going to avoid that. I pledge to turn that opportunity to these important offices of sheriff, county attorney, county clerk, and coroner to the city, at least for vetting. I pledge to follow the recommendation. I'm not going to allow any abuse to occur. Furthermore, I believe in this office for public service. Again, I'll say it. I work for people who don't agree with me. And finally, again, I'll talk to you about my website, Jon Larson for FayetteCounty.com. I care for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we really appreciate all of you participating today. If those in the audience are interested in league membership, please check out our website at lwvlexington.com. You can find additional information on other candidates and these candidates at vote411.org. And be sure to vote in the May primary, May 17th. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.